What is up, guys? Wrestling Premiere is here. I've been craving a video on this event for about a year now. Obviously, I can make it anytime I want, but with the event being associated with the summer, I didn't want to do it yet. I mean, I'll probably go a different route, randomly make any pay-per-view video I want. I'm not planning on doing that at the moment. With that said, Vengeance 2005, well, there's a couple of WrestleMania cards throughout the decades, and I can't touch this event in terms of matches and star power. I'm talking about from the top of the card, not the bottom, of course. One of the beliefs many have as to why Vengeance 2005 was a massive success was because of a little event called ECW One Night Stand. I assume the WWE guys had a burden of trying to top that show, and technically speaking, they did. But ECW One Night Stand was never about putting on clinics or classics, it was about remembering a once great wrestling promotion. Vengeance, though, that was a whole different story. With the ongoing WWE draft, the event in some ways proved to be the end of feuds such as Triple H and Batista, the John Cena and Christian thing, and on the contrary, also seemed to intensify stories like Edge and Kane and Cena and Y2J. There's not a single, terrible match on here, and I think we can all agree that this was, for certain, the best Raw exclusive pay-per-view of the brand split era, obviously. With regards to 2005, you guys know I love that year. It's superb in my eyes. It was a fun year in many aspects. I love going back to it. It's probably my second favorite year in WWE history, and we'll definitely remake that year video in the future. With that said, Vengeance 2005 was held in the Thomas and Mack Center in Las Vegas, Nevada on June 26, 2005. 9,850 were in attendance to witness Hell in a Cell, and the buy rate was, and this is going to make RVD proud, 420,000. It was much higher than ECW One Night Stand and absolutely annihilated Vengeance 2004 by about 180,000 purchases. Damn, that was the highest for a B-level pay-per-view since No Way Out 2003, which featured Rock and Hogan 2 and the return of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Of course, this was due to HBK Angle 2 in the Cell main event. Maybe even John Cena contributed, but like I said earlier, it was very rare to see that level of talent feature on a B-level pay-per-view show. Also, this was the final B pay-per-view show to reach 400,000 buys, if I remember correctly, so yeah. The theme song for the event was Happy by Mudvayne, and it really fit the event, in particular the Hell in a Cell match. It was very violent and gruesome. Okay, enough talk. Let's go back to Las Vegas and go back to a time where there was a high level of optimism in WWE. The first match was for the Intercontinental Championship. Shelton Benjamin, the ex-champion, challenged Carlito for the coveted gold. So at this point in time, Shelton Benjamin was being pushed hard. He was a very talented individual, and sure, he had his weaknesses, but he was too good to ignore. Suddenly, Carlito debuts on Raw, and it's like that scene from Toy Story where Buzz Lightyear's the new shiny toy. Basically, Shelton was thrown in favor of Carlito, at least that's what it looked like. At this point, Carlito was only champion for 6 days, and already he had made a huge impact. He was the only man, I believe, in WWE history to have won 2 titles in his debut. He won the United States title on SmackDown and the IC title on Raw. Okay, so Shelton came out very eager to right Monday's wrong. The bell rings, collar and elbow in the corner. Quickly, the former champion tries to steal it with the STF in a quick pinfall, and Carlito is kind of caught off guard because this was completely unexpected. Side headlock transitions into a pinfall attempt, and like I said, Carlito wasn't in it yet. Even when he tries to get the ball rolling, Shelton quickly ends it and goes on the offense. Shoulder tackle from Carlito, and now he's smiling, but Benjamin kips up and whoops his ass. So the quote-unquote fighting champion was off to fight some unknown talent in the back, at least I assume. He gets dragged back in, and Shelton hits a suplex, and this gives him a near fall. So Carlito quickly took advantage with a thumb to the eye. Because of this, Shelton quickly adapted to the situation. It was like a damn superhero, he's climbing up. He's not climbing up the ropes, he's jumping onto the top rope. He's hitting clotheslines off the top, which gave him a 2, and his momentum didn't last for long as Carlito finally realized what's up and took control. He did the usual heel stuff, a scoop slam, hat trick, I should note, and the commentary team felt that Carlito was taking advantage of an injury from Monday. Shelton suffered that injury after going for a dive during the title match, but unfortunately for himself, he got a little in over his head at one point and almost screwed up. But he was still in control. Rest hold for a little, leads to Shelton fighting back and hitting a reverse elbow, but he was unable to take advantage. Once both men recover, Benjamin hits a Samoan drop, and after a few, actually goes for the cover, but Carlito kicked out. Following this, they engaged in a slugfest, left and right. This leads to Shelton finally emerging out of that rut with a comeback, and oddly enough, the crowd was booing. Didn't you just hear him seconds ago? He then goes up top, only for Carlito to stop him. Turns out Carlito was the one who was stopped dead in his tracks, and Coach thought it was dumb because Shelton couldn't go for the cover quickly. Springboard Bulldog, 1, 2, no. Following this, a couple of heel shenanigans ensue, leading to a modified power slam from Carlito, but it didn't matter though because Shelton hit that roundhouse kick. As Shelton goes for the Stinger Splash, Carlito pulls that turnbuckle pad off, and he meets steel. Then he quickly went for the cover with some leverage, 1, 2, 3. That was a good match. It was an enjoyable opener due to the fact that both men felt notable at the time. The action was entertaining and the crowd was hot for it. It was a regular match, there wasn't anything flashy or special about it, but they did their jobs well. They played their roles well. It was just a regular good match. Like I said, it's not outstanding stuff, But for a pay-per-view opener, scratch that. For a regular match, like when you look at it at face value, it's good. It was a much better version of their match on Raw, and kayfabe-wise, Shelton was unlucky in the sense that he was in there with a slimy bastard. Unfortunately, though, he fell down the card shortly afterwards. The next match was between Victoria and Christy Hemme. So this one began after Christy won a swimsuit contest. Victoria gets angry. She attacks her. She's healed for the first time in about a year. Then she assaults her later on with a friggin' glass jar, I believe. Christy's bleeding, and so basically it's personal, right? Victoria at this point, she wasn't really doing much. I think she had just returned from injury, but like I said in that Bad Blood video, they never pushed her like they did in 2002, 2003, 2004. Christy Hemme, though, she wasn't exactly competing all that much as well. She was mostly there as a valet following this, and yeah. Okay, so Victoria gets chased around ringside, and then the ring takes a Luthez press. Christy was showing a little too much intensity with a turnbuckle thing, and this intensity served to be her downfall because, for one, she wasn't thinking right, and two, she messed with the wrong lady. Victoria targeted the head injury and went on the attack, chokes, hair pulling. She was throwing her around, choking her around. The crowd was like, "We want puppies." Yeah, you ain't getting that. Chin lock from Victoria as Christy's desperately trying to fight out, and at this point, Victoria basically had her figured out. Like, even when Christy was countering with a quick roll-up, Victoria was in her element. She'd stop her and go back on the attack. That is until she attempted a moonsault. Suddenly, Christy's the aggressive one. DDT from Christy gives her a near fall, and that was as good as it was going to get for her because Victoria stole the match using the ropes. One thing that's for sure is that this match was certainly the weakest on the card, but Victoria, she put in a good effort, and she managed to get a somewhat acceptable match out of Christy Hemme. Christy was very annoying, with the screaming, so if you're going to watch this event, just watch out for that. But like I said, the intensity, though, was off the charts. Christy was angry. She was damn near ready to kill Victoria, but it obviously didn't lead to a good match. But for what it was, like I said, I'd say it's acceptable. In the back, John Cena is interviewed by Todd Grisham, who was claiming to be a popular kid in school. Because Cena, he's the new kid on the block. He just got drafted to Raw. Cena called him out on it before poking insults at both Christian and Jericho. He felt Captain Charisma won the title because he wanted to be more famous in Canada, and in Jericho's case, it'd lead to him selling more albums. To Cena, it was all about the fight, and just like he almost died winning this title, he'll die to keep it. Great promo from the champ. The next match was between Kane and Edge. So this one had the most insane backstory. The story of this one is deeply rooted in backstabbing. Lita, after months of despising Kane, actually came around to him. Turns out she fell in love with Edge the entire time, and only in wrestling where the guy who forces a woman to marry him is the babyface. Obviously, it was after she fell in love with him, but still. On this, Lita mentally tortured Kane in a bunch of ways. She threw the wedding ring. She married Edge in that wedding ceremony. Was pretty damn hilarious. The heel turn in itself also caused a huge change in Edge's character. Went from being this deranged, title-obsessed individual to a douche in the best way possible. Like, this is my favorite iteration of Edge. The 05-06 Edge that was managed by Lita, that's my favorite iteration of his. He really kicked it up a notch and showed that he is a certified main eventer. Okay, Kane was very urgent in starting things off. He's pretty damn impatient. Bell rings and he's already on the attack. He was really pushing the ref's buttons, and Edge, on the other hand, was on the edge. There was no offense coming from him. "We want match" chant intensifies as Kane's putting a whooping on him. Lito was about to get it when Edge makes the save. Well, not really. Edge had to rake the eyes, and even then it caused nothing, and then Lito once again interfered, leading to a shove to the post and the spear. Kane beat the count, but he was met with a baseball slide, all with the fans booed in unison. And now, Mr. Money in the Bank was finally in control. This was after like 5 or 6 minutes. "You screwed Matt" chant was heard from the crowd. Edge was completely isolating Kane, who couldn't get out of that rut, and then 97 Kane emerged, and Edge was essentially punching the wall. Nothing was working until the Edge-o-matic, and even then I'm wrong. Why? Because Kane set up, drop kick, and he sets up again. Off the top, Edge eats a huge right hand, snake eyes into the corner, and there's a near fall. But the momentum was finally halted after Kane went for the clothesline. The spear, though, went about as well as Christian's push that year, and then Snitsky made her run it. Turns out it's useless, and then Lita decides to help her man. Kane doesn't buy into this, he doesn't buy into this little facade that she's trying to play at the moment, and was ready to break her neck, but Snitsky ran in and booted the big red monster. Edge then goes for the cover. 1, 2, no. That finish would have been deflating. Like, had it ended there, it would have been disappointing. And I haven't watched the event in a long time, so I don't remember who exactly won this. So it was cool to see Kane kick out. Execution attempt goes south, leading to Snitsky once again helping Edge. Well, not really. He failed, and Mr. Money in the Bank accidentally blasted him. Kane's ready for it, and boom! Chokeslam. 1, 2, 3. Alright, fun match. Again, the crowd really added to this. Edge was more hated than anybody on Raw at this point. Like, whoever went up against him was going to get cheered 100%. And the match itself, it started picking up around the second half. When Snitsky ran in, it got ridiculous in a good way. It was enjoyable to me. I liked it. It's not obviously an outstanding match or anything like that, but for what it was, fun. The next match was between Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle, the sequel to a top 5 WrestleMania match. Okay, so you guys know the story of the WrestleMania 21 match. That match in itself was a wrestling clinic in every sense of the word. It is a 5-star match. You can't tell me otherwise. It was excellent. It was one of the greatest wrestling matches of all time. It was probably the best match of 2005, although a certain triple threat match might have a shout out. Like I said, their match at WrestleMania 21, it was ridiculous. It lived up to the hype. During the interview before the match, Shawn Michaels wondered, just how was the rematch going to happen if Kurt Angle wasn't even on Raw? Luckily for himself, the draft made it possible, and he guaranteed that vengeance will be his, and it was on. Okay, here we go. The bell rings, collar and elbow leads to Angle cornering Michaels. Angle goes under quickly, looking to take down the Heartbreak Kid, but fails. Side headlock from HBK, and already Kurt was somewhat pissed. He goes for a quick takedown, and the ref was working hard to keep these two from going overboard. Shoulder tackle from Angle, who quickly runs into 2 arm drags, and Kurt quickly escapes and targets the arm himself. He clearly did some notable work there, as Michaels was feeling pain in his wrist. But it didn't matter, though, as he bounces back with a few knife-edge chops that send Angle to the outside. Back in the ring, the Olympic hero quickly tries schooling HBK, who runs to the outside. He runs back in, and this time around, Angle was desperately going after that ankle before intelligently going for a half Boston Crab. Chops from Michaels leads to an Irish whip and a sunset flip attempt, which Angle scouted and quickly went for the ankle lock. The fans were going crazy at this point. It was some exciting stuff. Michaels ran away as if he saw Bret Hart and sent the Olympic hero straight to the outside. They fight and counter several moves on the outside, leading to a German suplex onto the Spanish announce table, and Angle was reported with a near fall. He was hard-headed like me when I was trying to play a broken PS2 disc, and he was continuously going for the fall. So now it was time to go back to work. Angle went for those rough-ass uppercuts in the corner, and Shawn Michaels was elsewhere. HBK quickly tries fighting back, but it leads to a powerbomb on that broken back. Like the commentary team said, Angle studied his opponent. He was going straight after that back with suplexes. He was wearing him down with a chin lock, and Shawn Michaels was in a very precarious situation. He, of course, responds with the chops, but a little clothesline attempt leads to my favorite move, the German suplex. And again, Shawn Michaels kicked out. Angle slam attempt turns into an arm drag. Michaels once again fends off Angle for all of 2 seconds as he bounces him with a belly to belly. Whatever HBK was doing, Kurt Angle manages to stop him dead in his tracks and halt his momentum. And this had been happening a few times during this part of the match. In HBK's case, Angle was dominant. In Kurt's case, HBK was resilient. He goes for the headlock, and this time it seemed like it was all bleak, and his eyes are elsewhere, shoulders as well, and Kurt had that thing wrenched in. Fans tried rallying him on. This was enough as the Heartbreak Kid hit the back body drop. Refs counting both men down, and it wasn't until he counted 7 that they recovered, and suddenly both men engaged in a slugfest. Off the ropes, Michaels hits the forearm, and there's the tip up. Kurt couldn't believe it because this unlocked a comeback, HBK went for the strikes, the atomic drop, and of course the body slam. This gave him a mixed reaction from the Las Venturas crowd, and boom, the elbow. He had all that adrenaline and was ready to wrap it up with a sweet chin music, but Angle, though, was like your super kick and clotheslined him. Angle was ready to end it with a slam, but Michaels once again countered. Several near falls from Angle at this point, and like WrestleMania, he was bleeding from the mouth. Michaels was eager to take back the advantage, but Kurt countered and hit a German. He escapes his second attempt and ran into the Angle slam. 1, 2, no. He was ready for the lock, but Michaels went for the inside cradle. HBK quickly goes for something, but Kurt locked him in, and he was in agonizing pain. It was about 2 minutes. That's what it felt like. It felt like WrestleMania 21 where HBK was stuck in the middle of the ring. Kurt was hard-headed, but then he suddenly rolled him over, and Angle bumped into the ref. Things get ugly real quick for the Heartbreak Kid when Kurt tossed him over the top rope and onto his knee. He didn't give a damn about what was going on and was ready to wrap it up. And Shawn then goes for the super kick, but he finds himself in that dangerous situation. Groggy refs watching for the hand, and Michaels was trying. He was really trying to escape, but Kurt was like a pit bull. He refused to be denied, and now the crowd was loudly chanting for HBK, but it was too little too late. At least that's what it looked like. Luckily, though, he countered and tossed Angle to the post. Fans are suddenly booing. What's up with that? HBK chant intensifies, and he's willing himself to get back up. Kurt approaches him, and boom! Sweet chin music. Once Michaels went for the cover, Kurt Angle kicked out. He gets back up after a minute and decides to go up top, and this proved to be a costly mistake as Michaels caught him with the sweet chin music. 1, 2, 3. They're even now. Alright, that was a superb match. Why? Well, let's put it simple. Kurt Angle is on one side of the ring, and Shawn Michaels is on the other. Angle was fairly dominant for the most part. It's like he had a point to prove even though he had already beaten Michaels, and HBK himself had to fight from under. For one, he had already lost to Angle, not only that, but was fighting a knee and back injury. They once again delivered in a big way with an amazing match, and while it wasn't as good as WrestleMania 21, it's still one of the best matches of 2005. Like, it was that damn good. Say the WrestleMania 21 match didn't happen, this match would probably be appreciated more. Like, the one thing that's going against this match is the fact that WrestleMania 21 had occurred beforehand. At least that's what I think. But yeah, dream match, delivered, and then some. People have been wishing they faced off for years at this point, and they delivered in 2 excellent matches. It was some great stuff, and it might be your match in the night, but it certainly isn't mine. Okay, in the back, the coach is interviewing Batista. He had been hyping up this interview for most of the show. He's like, oh, I got an interview with Batista or whatever. He, of course, pushed his button saying he looked scared, and Batista called him an ass-kissing suck-up before offering his rebuttal in a very emotional way. Once again said that Triple H has got to kill him to take this and promised to be the only man walking out of that cell. Triple H emerges and he's like, I'm walking with the title. Nobody beats me inside that cell. He puts his hands on the champ, leading to a scuffle, and that's intensity. Like, those two, they were ready to kill each other. Okay, so Lillian Garcia came out to introduce her man, Viscera. This is a whole story that needs to get talked about because, for one, it's random, and 2, nobody talks about it. And I'll definitely add it to my list because it is honestly something I really want to do now after watching this event. She said that Viscera made her feel things she's never felt before, and Garcia also called him a sweet, wonderful, and loving man. Also sexy. The reason why she brought him out here was to sing him a song. She was completely in her feelings. She professed her love for Viscera, all while the fans gave her a mixed reaction, and suddenly she went on her knee and asked for his hand in marriage. He's like, it's heavy. As he's taking it into consideration, the Godfather made a rare appearance with a bunch of Vegas girls. Lillian was shocked to see her man opening the ropes for them, and this man was ready to go all in. Godfather couldn't believe Viscera turned into this, you know, he was a pimp in training in the past. It was unbelievable to Godfather that this man was really gonna get married. She saw the writing on the wall, you know, she knew that man was all but gone, and man, we gotta make something on this run, right? He was easily convinced to make his decision. If it wasn't obvious, well, Lillian was a single woman now. Hell, he even shouted that it's all aboard the hoe train. He did apologize though, so there's that. Also, to Viscera, 5 women were better than 1. And yeah, that's the segment. It was basically a waste of time. Like, if you bought the pay-per-view, you probably would have been angry, be like, oh my god, what the hell is this? Alright, it's time to get serious again. John Cena defended the WWE Championship against both Chris Jericho and Christian in a triple threat match. So at this point, John Cena was completely and utterly unstoppable. He had an album charting on the Billboard, and was very well received from the crowd. Everything was working well, but kayfabe-wise, he was a new kid on the block. Christian for months had poked insults his way, and now it was looking like they were gonna feud. Suddenly, Chris Jericho felt the need to whine about a title shot. He turned on John Cena, getting himself added to the Vengeance match, and so this meant no John Cena and Christian program, which I find very odd. Why? For one, Christian was one of the wrestlers who the fans started to get behind that year. Not only that, but he had been referencing John Cena for weeks on end, and so why would they change that up? With the triple threat match, they pushed Christian aside at a time he needed the opportunity to break through the most. And was he going to win the title? No, I doubt it, because this was when they were building John Cena. I highly doubt they were going to have him lose the belt. But a great performance would have certainly steered him in that direction. But WWE had other plans though. Chris Jericho, on the other hand, was kind of on the way out. You know, he was ready to take a long hiatus away from WWE, and honestly, it was much needed. Jericho needed that break badly. Anyway, Cena had most of the crowd on his side, and after the bell had rung, Jericho provoked him and even went as far as to slap him. He responds with a takedown, leading to Christian getting involved, and those two weren't exactly fond of each other because of their storied past. They refused to take turns in beating up John Cena before Y2J lost his patience and went after him. Because of this, the problem solver got involved, sending Jericho into the barricade and then the ring. Cena's putting a beating on Christian, hitting the hip toss, stomping a mud hole, and again, Tom Cole halts his momentum. So Earl Hebner ejects him from ringside. Christian at this point was looking like a kid on his first day of preschool, you know, just begging for Tom Cole to come back. Once he turns around, John sends him into the air before catching him in FU position, and Christian was so desperate trying to escape it, so Cena decided, you know what, why don't we FU you to the outside? Jericho took advantage and hit the missile kick before going for a baseball slide, and the champ was starting to struggle, but it didn't last for long. Cena bounces off the corner and receives a bulldog. Lionsaw doesn't go down, but Jericho still had his work cut out for him. On the outside, he clears the table, opting to send Cena through it, and Christian was busy tapping the buttons on his controller to recover. Jericho's suplex turned into a DDT for himself, and after the replay, Christian was finally good. He was very frustrated with how things were going and was ready to take this moment and make it his. And Coach was right, you know, we didn't need a whiny Chris Jericho involved. After mocking the champ, Christian was on the receiving end of the comeback, you know, the John Cena comeback, and as he's going for the 5-knuckle shuffle, Chris pulls his leg and tosses him into the steps. Christian capitalizes on this by hitting the baseball slide, and then in the ring he was feeling himself. Nice counter from Jericho, almost leads to the walls. John gets bumped into, and there's the inside cradle. 1, 2, no. Those two fight in the corner, leading to a Tower of Doom spot that gets the fans excited. Once the men recover, Cena discovered his final form and whooped both of their asses. He even hit a 10-knuckle shuffle, and a nice sunset flip from Cena turns into a roll-up galore, and this concludes with both Cena and Christian knocking each other down. Jericho once again went up top, and it didn't end well for him at all. Cena goes for the FU on Christian, but he rakes the eyes and hits his old finisher, you know, the inverted DDT, but John kicked out. Christian was so angry that he brought in the belt, and it proved to be a distraction, though, as Tomko ran in and clotheslined him. 1, 2, kick out. Alright, it was at this moment where Christian finally learned that no matter what you do, John Cena will never stay down for the 3 on pay-per-view. Jericho, though, was damn near close as well, locking in the walls, keeping Christian away, and he then goes for the roll-up before attempting the unprettier, but Jericho pushes him in Cena's direction, and he's up in FU position. His legs are used as a battering ram, and boom, FU. 1, 2, 3. That was impressive. The action never stopped and never got dull for a minute. It was excellent throughout the way, and even though John Cena was not the best in-ring at this point, they still managed to put on an overlooked title match. Also, shout out to the commentary, JR in particular. That guy was putting on an awesome performance at the time, and this match was no different. Like, at one moment with this commentary, I actually envisioned Christian holding the title, and this was in spite of the fact that I already knew the result. But yes, this was an excellent match on an excellent pay-per-view. On any other night, this would be match of the night, but here it clearly wasn't the match of the night, and it wasn't even close. And the main event, Batista defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Triple H inside Hell in a Cell. While this feud escalated, it had already been somewhat intense, but not to the point of Hell in a Cell. It took Triple H losing his edge for him to go fully overboard. Ric Flair proved to be the dirtiest player in the game, convincing Batista that he's on his side, and Triple H was full on Lemmy. I guess Omega took inspiration from this look. The feud itself again needed a Hell in a Cell match to settle the score. Triple H was calling himself the devil, and Batista's like, I'm gonna kick the devil's ass. And in WWE world, Triple H was essentially the devil. Nobody came close to the evil he was inflicting at the time. He would eventually slow down in terms of evilness, like after the Ric Flair feud, but here he was still in his element. The match had yet to commence, yet these guys were at each other's throats, and the story was all about Triple H and the fact that he lost twice. The question was, surely he couldn't lose a third time, right? Okay, the bell rings and Triple H quickly goes for the cheap shot. He's cornering the animal, but this lasted for only 2 seconds as he was unleashed. On the outside, the game's already bumped into the cell. Nope, that wasn't the case. They're both seething and just chomping at the bit to take action. Batista took advantage and set the game straight to the outside where he slammed his head onto that cell. And his offense didn't last for long because he was sent into the steps. To top it all off, he was also thrown straight into the fence. He ran him into the cell twice before hitting a clothesline, and suddenly Triple H brings in a chain and Batista was whooped like a government mule. Fans were booing Triple H, Batista's in agony, and JR couldn't believe what he's seeing. At one point, he was also choking him with every fiber of his being. It was completely gruesome. So Batista had to force himself out of that situation, but it also unlocked very angry Batista. He whooped his back repeatedly, sending Triple H running, but it still didn't solve the problem. Then he began ramming his back into the cell and pulsed all while JR was in shock, but it didn't stop the game, even though he was all busted open. He hit the spine buster, and in my mind, let the bodies played because a barbed wire chair emerged from under the ring. The game brings it in, and boom, Batista's skin is all ripped up. As if it wasn't already. Holy chant intensifies, and Triple H follows up with another chair shot, and as he goes for the third attempt, Batista knocks down that chair and begins the scratch. He didn't begin the comeback because Triple H hit that face buster, but it didn't knock him down though because he hit the clothesline. Seeing as Batista was very angry, he was now very, very angry, and he blasted Triple H face first with a chair before grading his face with it. Also, you just gotta hear JR, you just gotta hear the commentary. He was really selling the intensity, the violence of the cell match. And as if that shot wasn't enough, Triple H was being torched on the outside. His face was completely red, and doubts crossed the mind of Jerry Lawler over the Triple H cell streak. In the ring, Batista made a mistake running into the post, and now evil Triple H was back. He was looking to pedigree Batista onto that chair, but the champ countered, leading to a slugfest, and Triple H's mistake was running into his arms because he landed on that damn chair. JR's voice was slowly fading away because the man couldn't believe the carnage, the massacre ensuing before his very eyes. Both men were spent at this point. They had lost a lot of blood, and the cell match had taken a lot out of them. Batista met the steps once again, and Triple H was back to work. The fans tried rallying him back into it, and this is the moment where Triple H brought out the great weapon, the sledgehammer. Batista took notice and quickly fought back, and this led to a failed Batista bomb, and MacLeod at this point was trying to tell him to put it down, you don't need to do this, but he could care less, and Batista was blasted. 1, 2, kick out. JR couldn't believe Batista kicked out. Coach thought it was unusual, and by the looks of it, it didn't matter because the title run was going to end real soon. As the game goes for a shot, Batista low blows him, and now he's got the sledgehammer. At the same time, though, Triple H had wrapped the chain in his hand, and that was a perfect ending. That could have ended the match then and there, but it didn't. He goes for it again, and Batista responds with the sledgehammer. Now he was wobbly, and this came at a terrible time because Batista was building momentum, and you can feel that hatred he had for Triple H. He absolutely detested the sight of him. The game was being thrown around like trash, blasted with steps, and the animal was a clear aggressor. He decided to bring in the steps before ramming Triple H's head into it, crushing his skull. Does the thumbs up, thumbs down thing, and as he's going for the powerbomb, Triple H low blows him before hitting the pedigree. 1, 2, no. Batista kicked out of the pedigree once again, and the match at this point wasn't in 5th gear, wasn't even in 6th gear, it was in 7th gear. They surpassed expectations. I assume the crowd was still in it. They were fully supportive of Batista, and unlike last year where you could hear a pin drop, they were lively. The game decides to bring the steps into the middle of the ring for the pedigree, and once again Batista counters and hits the spine buster onto the steps. And then there's the best part. So Batista's grabbing Triple H for the bomb when we notice him grabbing a sledgehammer. He's got him on the shoulders, and JR screaming, "He's got the sledgehammer!" And it was like a scene from a movie, but Batista dropped him on his back with the Batista bomb and went for the cover. 1, 2, 3. That was absolutely incredible. Like, for sure, it's a top 3 cell match, in my opinion. They didn't need to go out to the top of the cell, you know, they told the story in there, and it was violent. It was ECW level at that, I should mention. And they didn't need to go that far, but they did. Batista went to hell and back, and not only that, but Triple H put him over unlike anybody I've ever seen. He lost to him 3 times, making him look not like $1 million, but $1 billion. He kicked out of the pedigree numerous times, stepped into hell with a WWE's version of the devil, and walked out still champion. Like, damn, you can't make anybody look better than that. Also, for the flack Triple H received for the Reign of Terror, it wouldn't have made Batista's story as big as it was. Now, what did Big Dave say about this match? This is what he had to say in his book, I Walk Alone, back in 2007. And I quote, "I think a lot of fans expected me to lose the title at Vengeance, and looking back, I think that was a match where people started to look at me really differently. I think they decided then that I'm not a flash in the pan, that I really am a champion. It's not just a matter of who wins or loses a match or wears the title, it's the entertainment value of the match a wrestler gives. That's the sign of a champion. A champion gives fans a special experience, and at that match, Hunter and I took him on a ride. Right down to the very end, and I think right down to the very last second of that match. That is true, by the way. Fans really didn't know who was going to win, and that's not easy to do. Hunter always got a bad rep for, we'll call it hogging the title. He's been champ a lot during his career, and the criticism was a really bad rap. Hunter was a champion so often because there weren't that many other guys who could carry the company like he could. It was one of those things where it was a necessity for him to hold the title for the company to survive, and he backed it up with his performances in the ring. He put asses in the seats, and of course that's just my opinion. I'm sure some people won't like it or think that I'm sucking up to Hunter. Too bad. At the end of that match, I felt like I had arrived. There was really a huge difference between being the champion and being the man, and that match made me the man. I mean, I do disagree with that carrying the company statement, but like I said, Triple H, he really put him over huge. Batista really looked like a star. So that's Vengeance 2005. This event was so damn easy to watch. It was enjoyable in nearly every sense of the word. I had fun watching it again. I hadn't watched it in full in about 7 years, so it was good to watch it back. My least favorite match, of course, was Victoria versus Christy Hemme, but that's not really saying much. You know, there were some parts of it I enjoyed. My favorite match, of course, was Triple H versus Batista. This match was so damn violent. It was so damn entertaining. And if you never watched it before, you just gotta watch it. Like, I consider it to be on the level of Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, Undertaker versus Mankind, Triple H versus Cactus Jack. Those types of matches, I believe it's on the highest level of Hell in a Cell matches. It was that damn good. No pun intended. Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle, again, excellent bout. It's just that cell match. That's the first thing I think of when I hear Vengeance 2005. Like, it is the match of the night in my eyes. Edge, Kane, Angle, they put on a clinic. They put on an epic wrestling match. The triple threat in itself was fun as hell. Again, it was fun. And even though John Cena was limited in the ring, it was still excellent. So yeah, like I said, you can't really go wrong with this pay-per-view. It is a 9 out of 10 in my eyes. 9 out of 10 is one of the greatest B shows in WWE history for certain. So yeah. What do you guys think of Vengeance 2005? Please comment down below. And that's it for this video. Make sure you hit the FU on the like button and perhaps the Batista bomb on the subscribe button. Peace. I'm out.